Hey friends, welcome back to Hot Air with me, Joshua Robert. This is the podcast where we talk about life like we're sitting on a couch together, sipping something far too strong, and occasionally roasting ourselves because why not? And today we are doing something a little bit different. We're wrapping up 2025. We're reflecting on the chaos, the wins, the ridiculous moments, the why did I do that moments, and everything in between. Now, I know you might be thinking, some of you might be thinking, like, ugh, reflection. Isn't that just a sad recap of all my failures? And no, not here. This episode is all about looking at 2025 with curiosity and humor, and of course, sass, and asking the real question: what do I want more of in 2026? Is it more energy, more love, more money, less stress, more laughter? We're covering all of it: brain, body, money, relationships, career, mindset, you name it, we're going to talk about it. And by the end of this episode, you'll have actionable tools, science-backed insights, and practical exercises to close out this year with intention and step into the next one feeling grounded and sexy and ready as fuck. And because this is hot air, we're doing it like we're talking to a friend, okay? There's no judgment here. There's no highbrow motivational speaker nonsense. This is just honest, pretty practical, and hopefully a little bit funny reflection. We're going to share some stories, exercises, micro tools that you can use immediately so you don't just think about your year, you learn from it and leave it wiser, lighter, and maybe a little bit giddier. So if you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok at _hotairpod, go follow me now. You can head to my website, Hot Air with Joshua Robert, to drop your own listener stories and topic suggestions there and shop my merch. Grab your favorite drink, maybe a notebook to take some notes, or just listen while you are literally doing anything else that you need to do, because we probably have a lot on our plates at the end of the year. And let's get this started. 2025. We see you, and we're about to give you the reflection that both you and we deserve. So let's hit it. Part 1. Mental health and emotional awareness. Reflecting on your mind in 2025. Let's start at the beginning. Your brain. Because honestly, everything else in your life this past year, from money to relationships to career chaos, it starts here. 2025 was a roller coaster for a lot of us, including myself. And if you are anything like me, your brain spent a good portion of it screaming and panicking or overthinking the tiniest little things. Like, mental health is messy, it's nuanced, it's emotional, and it's frankly quite exhausting at times. But reflecting on it can actually give you more clarity than any Instagram post or motivational quote ever could. Too often, people look back on a year and measure it by what they did or did not accomplish. And for me, that's a bit of a trap. Your brain doesn't care about arbitrary checklists. It cares about what you felt and how your nervous system survived all of the chaos. So instead of, did I hit my goals? Try asking, what do I need more of? I read something about that the other day. Instead of looking back on the year, what did I do or what didn't I do? Just going into 2026 thinking, what do I want more of? Really resonated with me. So that theme is going to be throughout this episode. Again, do you want more calm, more inspiration, more patience, more self-compassion, more emotional support? We all need that. And that's where the real reflection begins. So in 2025, I went through a phase for a large portion of it where every day felt like a test that I had not studied for. Because if you knew me in high school, you know I didn't study for a single test. But some days I nailed it. I felt creative and focused and alive. And other days I spiraled into procrastination and guilt and anxiety about a lot of things that I couldn't control. And at first, I judged myself, beat myself up, and created a mental highlight reel of all of my quote unquote failures. Then I tried a simple experiment. I read about The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris. Basically, pause, notice the thought, label it, and let it pass. And then suddenly I realized that my emotions weren't me failing. They were my nervous system doing what it's designed to do, trying to keep me alive and alert. And once I separated my identity from my emotional chaos, reflection became less stressful and far more insightful, and also not that heavy. Let's talk about emotional regulation. This is the key skill for reflecting on 2025 without drowning in shame or guilt. Research in psychology shows that labeling emotions, noticing triggers, and engaging in mindful responses reduces amygdala hyperactivation and calms the nervous system. So, in English, naming your feelings actually stops your brain from going haywire. So, yes, you can scream into a pillow, but adding a moment of awareness, like, that's anxiety about career uncertainty, allows you to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. And truthfully, sometimes we just need to react impulsively and let it go and scream into that pillow. But so we're not doing that every day. It's a good practice to start naming those feelings. So here is a fun practical exercise to kind of begin that process. Grab a journal and write down 3 emotional highs and 3 emotional lows from 2025. For each, note what triggered this emotion, what was your reaction, and what helped or hurt you. You're mapping patterns, not assigning blame. Studies on reflective journaling show that doing this consistently is going to improve your mood, reduce stress, and increase emotional clarity. And you get to see the moments that actually mattered instead of letting your brain exaggerate the bad. So, a friend of mine went through a very chaotic summer, bouncing between work stress and personal drama. At the end of the summer, she journaled daily for a week about emotional highs and lows, and she noticed patterns. Small moments of connection and self-care consistently improved her mood, while neglecting boundaries amplified stress. That awareness alone changed how she is going to approach 2026 without any extreme wild resolutions. That's the power of reflection, framed with curiosity and not judgment. Now let's talk about CBT style reframes, because hot air isn't just about whining, it's about practical action. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT research consistently shows that thoughts are not facts. How many times have I said that? And by challenging distorted thinking, you reduce anxiety, guilt, and shame. So for example, instead of thinking, I wasted 2025, I'm a failure, reframe it. I experienced a lot in 2025, learned what did not work for me, and I'm ready to apply these lessons moving forward. Notice how calm that feels. That's literally your nervous system responding to rationale and kind framing instead of autopilot panic. So here's another little exercise. Pick one memory from 2025 that triggers maybe shame or regret. Write down the automatic thought, then ask, is this thought a fact? Or is it a story my brain is telling me? Next, rewrite it with a compassionate, growth-oriented lens. Research shows this improves resilience, self-efficiency, and emotional well-being. If your reframe makes you roll your eyes at yourself, you're probably doing it right. Like, humor is literally part of emotional regulation. And here's another angle for reflection: what you learned about your triggers and limits. 2025 probably pushed you in ways that revealed what drains you, what energizes you, and what boundaries you need. And that is gold. Neuroscience shows that repeated exposure to stress without insight strengthens maladaptive patterns. Reflection with curiosity rewires those patterns into intentional responses. So, for example, if you discovered that late night social media scrolling amplified your anxiety, which it probably did, this actionable knowledge, like set boundaries, schedule downtime, or replace it with journaling. Boom. Nervous system hygiene right there. You are going to rewire that habit. Like, I once realized that constantly checking email at night made me feel exhausted or anxious because I was reading work emails at 9 p.m. that didn't even apply to that day. So even on days when work was fine, it stressed me out. And after noticing that pattern, I implemented a 2-hour no screen rule before bed. My sleep improved, my mood stabilized, and I actually became more productive. That's an example of reflection turning into real life emotional management. My phone now goes on do not disturb at 7 p.m. every night. If you call me, you better believe I'm not answering. If you text me, 50-50 chance you'll hear back from me. Let's also talk gratitude and positive focus, because reflection can't just be about the negative. Positive psychology research shows that reflecting on wins and joys and moments of connection enhances resilience, motivation, and emotional well being. For each month of 2025, maybe you want to jot down one thing you appreciated, one thing you learned, and one moment that brought joy. And you could even start doing that right away in 2026. You don't have to overthink it. Even small moments matter. Your brain is wired to notice threat more than reward. We don't go somewhere and complain about all the good things. We complain about the bad shit because it's easier to point out. That is just how we are wired. So consciously logging positive experiences rewires your brain to notice abundance rather than scarcity. And honestly, that's something that I try to do almost every single night when I lay down. I'm like, okay, what was great today? What am I grateful for today? And there's times I forget. It's not a big deal if you forget, but like, even if it's one thing or three things or five things, and they can be the tiniest things. Like, I loved my coffee this morning. I had a really nice conversation with one of my clients at work. Or, my workout was good today. I feel like I slept well. Like, noticing those little things is going to be really helpful. And well, speaking of one of my clients, after journaling positive moments from 2025, they realized that despite work stress and personal setbacks, the majority of her meaningful experiences involved friends, creativity, and small rituals like morning coffee or walks. I fucking love my coffee in the morning. It brings me so much joy. And that awareness shifted her January mindset from dread to optimism. Oh, I have so many good tools for you today. So here's another one: mental contrasting for reflection and intention. Research shows that pairing visualization of positive outcomes with realistic obstacles makes reflection actionable and reduces fantasy-based disappointment. For example, imagine ending 2025 with calm, clarity, and insight. Then visualize the challenges that came up, like procrastination, anxiety, self-criticism. Ask yourself, what would I do differently next time? This prepares your brain to approach 2026 with agency and not panic. I use mental contrasting all of the time. And often, like while I'm reflecting on either career stress or dating, and visualizing the ideal outcome, feeling accomplished and calm alongside those obstacles like distractions or overcommitment, helped me identify one tiny adjustment: prioritizing weekly planning sessions for my work, specifically for work, not for dating. That one small adjustment completely changed how I'm going to approach January. So mental contrasting plus implementing intentions significantly increases goal attainment compared to just pure positive visualization. Self-compassion is another essential reflection lens. Research consistently shows that self-compassion reduces anxiety, depression, and self-criticism while improving resilience and motivation. So as you reflect on 2025, practice asking yourself, if a friend went through what I did this year, what would I say to them? Then say it to yourself and repeat it until your nervous system stops throwing a pity party and starts taking notes. My therapist said that to me the other day. What would you say to a friend who is telling you this? Take your own advice. Maybe write a compassionate letter to yourself about 2025. Include the things that you survived, the small wins, the mistakes that taught you lessons, and the moments of courage. I don't even like using the word mistakes or failures, but that's really the only label we have for them. But it doesn't have to have such a negative, heavy vibe to it. I'm going to say this a lot, but research shows that this type of letter writing improves well-being, it reduces rumination, and strengthens emotional resilience. Plus, it's surprisingly fun to write nice things to yourself without embarrassment. And finally, reflection is also about what you want more of in 2026, not just looking back. Not in terms of rigid goals, but in terms of emotional nutrients. Do you want more calm, more inspiration, more creativity, more laughter, more love, more connection? Ask yourself, what do I want my nervous system to feel more of next year? This reframes reflection from judgment to curiosity and growth. I did this recently as well in one of my yoga classes, and I used this method with my clients that were kind of like, meh. That's how they were feeling, meh. Instead of focusing on those failures, I had them think about and list emotional nutrients they wanted more of, like more playful creativity, meaningful connection, more calm mornings, and steady confidence. And suddenly, I think, January is going to feel like an opportunity for them and not shameful as though they're going to basically redo 2025. So here's the takeaway from part one. We got many parts to get to, but just part one. For your mental health, 2025 reflection isn't about a perfect recap or harsh judgment. It's about nervous system friendly observation, compassionate analysis, learning from patterns, celebrating wins, and identifying what you want more of. Journaling, mental contrasting, gratitude, CBT style reframes, and self compassion are your tools. Sprinkle in some humor, be honest with yourself, and let the brain relax. Truly. That's how reflection actually transforms into preparation for 2026. Now, I've been spending the last few weeks of 2025 walking through my emotional highs and lows and labeling certain triggers, journaling a little bit of insights, and I'm hoping that by December 31st, I'm going to feel calm, empowered, and excited. I mean, I already feel that already. Nobody is perfect, nobody is fixed, but fully prepared to approach 2026 is my goal. And I'm going to approach it with curiosity, with intention, and ridiculous optimism, as I always do. That is the magic of staying grounded. Part two, physical health and energy. Let's reflect on your body in 2025. All right, so if part one was all about your brain, part two is all about your body. Because let's be real, no amount of mental clarity or emotional growth is going to feel fully satisfying if your body is running on 3 hours of sleep, a Diet Coke or a shitty coffee, and zero movement beyond scrolling through Instagram in bed. 2025 may have been the year your body sent you a few subtle or, well, not so subtle messages, and reflection is about actually hearing those messages instead of pretending that everything is fine. Let's start with energy levels because your nervous system is basically your internal Wi Fi. If it's glitching or lagging, everything else slows down. Like, think about it. Were there periods in 2025 when you felt absolutely unstoppable? Like life was smooth and effortless and you just had this shit down. And then other periods when you hit that mid-afternoon slump and felt like an absolute sloth. And then you went to the gym, you're walking on the treadmill, you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? Those fluctuations are clues about what your body thrives on and what it doesn't. I had a week, I think maybe in April, where I felt like I had all the energy in the world, maybe because the podcast came out in April. Turns out that's when my morning routine started to become a bit more consistent. Early sunrises, I live for a sunrise, short movement sessions like stretching as soon as I got up, proper hydration, I would drink my electrolytes on my way to work, no phone scrolling first thing. Compare that to a week in September where I binged coffee, I skipped workouts, I tried to multitask while I was exhausted, crashed in the afternoon, irritability, almost always irritable, but like extra irritable, zero creativity. Your body talks, and reflection is literally listening to it without judging it, noticing what patterns you've set for yourself and how physically you're feeling. So a practical tool is an energy audit. For 1 week, track your energy across the day in 3-hour blocks. Note what increases it, like movement or sunlight or social interaction, and also what drains it, late night Netflix, caffeine binges, multitasking while you're already stressed. Research in behavioral medicine shows that awareness alone changes behavior because you notice patterns you might have ignored before. You can start experimenting immediately. Move things that energize you earlier in the day and limit what is going to drain you. And then watch your nervous system say, thank you, baby. Thank you. Let's talk movement because bodies were meant to move, not just survive. 2025 may have been a year where you either overdid it, like hello, ambitious January gym streak, or underdid it. Hello again, post Netflix slump. Evidence shows that consistent, moderate movement improves mood, sleep, metabolic health, and cognitive function. The magic isn't in extremes, it's in habit. That could be as simple as a walk, a 30-minute walk every day, or it could be an F45 kick your ass class. I had someone recently tell me that they had tried all the trends from 2025, the new spin class, hot yoga, red light therapy, cold plunges, even goat yoga. I mean, I've done that before. It was super cute. They poop all over your mat. So like, I don't suggest it, but only one thing stuck with this person: walking 20 minutes a day while listening to a podcast. That small, sustainable habit delivered more benefit than all the fads combined, and that is confirmed by science. Habit formation works best with consistency, accessibility, and enjoyment. It has to be something that you like doing. So Pick one type of movement that feels good: walking, dancing, yoga, swimming, or even stretching like while you're brushing your teeth, and commit 10 to 20 minutes a day for a week. Track how your energy, your mood, and your focus respond. Small, consistent behavior over sporadic, extreme efforts every time. And listen, sleep deserves its own megaphone, because if you were like me, 2025 had a few weeks where your sleep schedule basically did not exist. Science is clear. Sleep is the foundation of physical and mental health. Adults need 7 to 9 hours, ideally in a predictable rhythm. A regular sleep reduces cognitive performance, emotional regulation, and immune system function. Look back at your sleep patterns this year. When did you feel best? Probably when you were getting a decent amount of sleep. When did you feel off? Probably when you weren't sleeping. That is your body giving you feedback. You want to know what I did to help fix that? I set Alexa to tell me at 9 p.m. every day, it's time to get ready for bed. And she does it. And sometimes I listen to her. Sometimes I'm already in bed. Sometimes I have a few more things to do, but it's just a reminder that it's time to wind down. There were also times a long time ago when I used to binge work at night, thinking that I was productive, only to realize by mid-afternoon the next day, my brain was absolutely mush and my anxiety was sky high. And once I started prioritizing sleep consistently, even just by 30 minutes, 30-minute earlier bedtime, my energy, my mood, my focus all shot up. And reflection is noticing those patterns like this without feeling bad about it or punishing yourself for feeling like you're making those mistakes. Just adjust accordingly. And of course, we can't talk about the body without talking a bit about nutrition. Nutrition plays a huge role, and 2025 may have been a year of extremes. Some days, clean eating. Some days, whatever's in the pantry before noon. And science shows that your body thrives, again, on consistent, nutrient-rich fuel, and erratic intake spikes stress hormones, impacts energy, and messes with emotional regulation. And again, you don't need perfection, just awareness. Notice those patterns, experiment with timing and food choices, and reflect on what keeps you energized versus what tanks you. Oddly, I started to notice if I had more than one coffee, I started to hit a weird wall. I think my energy just spiked and then I crash. So I only have one mug of coffee a day. And I noticed that that helped me a lot. So I don't need that extra coffee because it kind of has an adverse effect. I also noticed that after late night sugary snacks, my mornings were foggy and I'm extra irritable. And I love candy. Switching to protein or fiber improved my next day energy by, I don't even know, a shit ton, and without any extreme dieting. I reflected on that. I noticed that I kind of had a sugar hangover and I felt like shit when I woke up. It was almost like I went out and partied and got really drunk and had bottle service. That's how I would feel. But what it really was gummy worms coming for me. So now I try not to do that as much. Now let's bring in some stress management, because your body stores tension even when your brain tries to pretend that everything is fine. Research shows that chronic stress contributes to inflammation, fatigue, and even long-term metabolic issues. Notice where your body carried tension in 2025. Did you have tight shoulders? Was there jaw clenching, digestive discomfort on stressful days? Journaling these physical responses alongside emotional events is going to create insight that leads to actionable change. We know that the body stores what the mind feels. I realized I held a lot of stress in my neck, my shoulders, and my jaw during a particularly intense work project last year. And just by reflecting and introducing a few extra minutes of stretching or breathing or just chilling out and zoning out for a hot second and letting that stress float away, my headaches dissipated. I still got them a little bit, but my mood also stabilized. And that's evidence-based, practical, low effort just to pause for a hot second. And it's reflection in action. Another physical tool is micro recovery habits. Evidence from sports science shows that recovery, like sleep, stretching, hydration, and short breaks, is more important for performance than overexertion. And 2025 may have had months where you thought you were winning by working out nonstop, but your nervous system does not agree. Identify periods where recovery was ignored and note the consequence. Use that insight to adjust your 2026 plan. Also, if you're someone who's trying to lose weight or trying to gain muscle, going to the gym every day is not the answer. You have to give your body time to recover. When I was trying to prepare for this summer Euro trip a few years ago, I was in the gym 7 days a week. Like if I missed a day, I would go crazy. But when I started only doing, 3 days in a row of intense weightlifting, different body parts, and then taking a day or two off to let my body recover, that's when I actually noticed more muscle gains because my muscles had time to recover, recoup, and grow stronger. You need to rest. So you don't have to fix everything all at once. Notice patterns like when did I feel my strongest? When did I feel bloated or drained or low energy? What small adjustment consistently improved my day? Reflection is the key. So we got sleep, nutrition, movement, stress, micro recovery. Combine them and you start seeing patterns. Your body is like a puzzle you didn't know you were solving all year long. And as you close out 2025, ask yourself, what do I want more of in 2026? What physical habits actually make me feel alive, energized, and supported? Not perfect abs or run a marathon. Those are optional. Focus on sustainable, enjoyable practices that support your nervous system. That's how energy, mood, and motivation become reliable so you can reach for those bigger goals. I had a friend that was reflecting on her year, realized she wanted mornings with light movement, adequate sleep, and a short gratitude practice. She made no big promises, just committed to those small micro habits that she enjoyed. And by week 2, her energy, her mood were already noticeably higher. That was science backed and very low drama. That's as simple as it can be. Little tiny shifts are the way. So, reflection about your body is not a report card. It's a map of patterns, lessons, and small adjustments. Track energy, notice triggers, celebrate wins, learn from missteps, and set intentions grounded in enjoyment, sustainability, and nervous system health. Movement, sleep, nutrition, stress management, and micro recovery are your levers. They are not obligations. Just observe, learn, adjust, and repeat. Part 3. Money and financial insights, reflecting on your coins in 2025. Now, this stresses me out, but we're going to talk about your wallet, or more accurately, your relationship with your wallet. Because let's be very clear, 2025 probably taught us some lessons about spending, saving, earning, and how your emotional life shows up in your bank account. Reflection here is not about guilt, although there's a lot of guilt around money. It's not about comparing yourself to your friend who casually invests in crypto while you're still debating if avocado toast sounds like a splurge. This is about insight and, again, patterns and setting yourself up for a financially healthy 2026. Let's start with the obvious. Most of us have a love-hate relationship with money. We need it. We want it. We stress about it, and we hide from it. I can attest to all of those. Behavioral economics shows that humans are emotionally wired around money. We overvalue immediate gratification, undervalue long-term gain, and make decisions based on fear or scarcity rather than logic. And reflection is your chance to see the real story of your finances in 2025 without judgment. No judgment here, okay? Pull up your statements from the year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll try. Pull up your statements from the year. Don't hide from them. Scan for patterns. Where did money flow easily? Where did it leak? And what emotional triggers drove spending? Research in behavioral finance shows that awareness alone improves financial decision making. Your goal isn't to shame yourself, it's to get data so you can make intentional choices next year. I used Rocket Money for a little while. This is not an ad. I found it very helpful. It showed me those things that I was subscribed to that I was no longer using. It showed how many times I went to Trader Joe's, how much money I spent on shopping for clothes. It was really helpful. Now, there was a time when I looked back on my spending and realized that I was over investing in convenience. Uber Eats, instant shopping, hello Amazon, daily lattes, they add up to a shocking monthly total. And once I noticed the pattern, I didn't ban fun. I just set up maybe smaller budgets and pre-planned meals. That small insight saved me hundreds of dollars, reduced stress, and gave me more intentional financial control. Seriously though, those lattes, spending $5 a day. I had one the other day that was $8 for a latte. Are you kidding me? It wasn't even a large. It was a regular size. But imagine spending that every day. Sit down and do the math, okay? It's wild. Now, let's talk about value-based budgeting. This is more fun than it sounds. Instead of cut all spending or save 100%, ask yourself, what matters most to me? What gives me joy? What gives me growth? And what gives me freedom? Aligning spending with values dramatically improves satisfaction and reduces guilt. And research in financial psychology shows that people who align spending with their values report higher financial well being and lower stress. So maybe travel is your value, not a new gadget. In 2025, you may have overspent on clothes or tech, thinking it would make you happy, but it didn't. Reflection is going to help you notice those patterns. So maybe you go, okay, next year, I'm going to prioritize experiences over things. My money should support joy, not Instagram aesthetics. That's smart. And that is intentional spending. That's kind of where I land. I do think a lot about content and the visuals and Instagram, what things are going to look like, but I value trips and experiences. So instead of me, buying a condo and having a $4,000 mortgage, I would rather rent so that I can travel internationally. Now, let's talk about savings and investments because we all know hindsight is 2020. And if 2025 was your first year actively thinking about money, you probably learned a ton, even if your bank account disagrees. Reflection isn't about comparing yourself to Warren Buffett. It's about noticing your habits. Did you automate savings? Did you pay off your debt? Did you start an emergency fund, even if it was small? And if not, don't panic. Just make a new plan for those micro adjustments. I have set my checking account to automatically transfer $100 every Friday into my savings account. And truth be told, there are times when it comes right back out because I need it for something else. I also use Acorns and I round up every purchase. And I also put $50 into an Acorns account every Monday. So I have these things already set up that Acorns I don't even see, I don't even think about. I have quite a bit of money in there, but only because I've had it for about 6 years and I've just been throwing money in there that I don't even see. So setting up those little small adjustments so you don't have to think about it is going to be really helpful. I also worked with a financial planner I think I've worked with him for about a year, and he set me up for success. I found out that you're supposed to have 3 months of money in case you lose your job, 3 months of like your rent, your car payments, all of your bills. That's hard. That is hard to get. It took me probably a year to put that aside. And we know everything is so expensive. So maybe you have a month. Maybe you just start a little nest egg, something that is going to take off the financial stress. Even if it's $5 on a Friday, put that in every week. Another thing I really love is tracking emotional spending. I'm guilty. Behavioral finance research shows that stress, boredom, and social comparison drive irrational purchases. Maybe you start writing down purchases that were emotionally driven. Ask yourself, what need was I trying to meet? Could I have met it with a different, lower cost way? This is not about guilt. It's just about awareness again. I am a stress shopper too. I'm also a stress eater. So if I'm really stressed and anxious, I go to Ralph's or Trader Joe's and spend way too much money on shit that I don't even really need to be eating that's not good for me anyway. Or I'll be like, I need to go to Zara and buy a new outfit or order some new shoes. So now that I've acknowledged that, I'm trying to supplement that stressful spending with another more positive habit? Question mark. Another very practical tool is monthly financial review. Look at each category, your bills, your spendings, your saving, your debt repayment, your investments if you have them. Ask yourself what worked, what drained me, what can I tweak next year? And evidence from financial psychology shows that reflection paired with micro adjustments predicts better financial outcomes than massive sweeping resolutions. Like I'm going to save $50,000 this year. No, small wins compound and make big wins always. List your wins, your losses, and your funny spending blunders, like accidentally spending $120 on candles you don't need. Like, that's funny, but also now you've got some cute candles. Like, humor makes reflection digestible and, just easier to digest. When we laugh at our mistakes, we're going to reduce that shame, and we're also still going to learn from it. So let's talk about goal setting with financial insight. Reflection informs your 2026 intentions, but goals only stick if they're realistic, measurable, and aligned with your values. If 2025 taught you that you could save $50 a month consistently, consider increasing it by $10 to $20. If it showed impulsive spending in a certain category, plan a micro adjustment rather than a full ban. Science shows that small, achievable goals improve adherence and long term success. Another reflection angle here is debt management. If 2025 included loans or credit card debt, lingering balances, reflection is about understanding those patterns. How does that debt influence stress, decision making, and emotional health? Reflection allows you to design a realistic repayment plan in 2026, potentially leveraging behavioral insights like automated payments, visual tracking charts, or reward based milestones. I had a friend that realized she only made minimum payments in 2025 because she felt guilty and avoided looking at balances. I've also done that. Reflection helped her face the numbers, and that can be scary. So she then set a small weekly repayment target and rewarded herself for milestones. This resulted in stress decreased, repayment improved, and confidence soared. Avoiding debt is emotionally tempting, but practically self sabotaging. There's times I don't want to log into my Chase account because I'm like, oh no, I don't want to see what my balance is. But reality is much clearer and it's going to help you make those changes. So while 2025 may have felt tight or stressful or chaotic financially, notice the wins. Did you pay your bills on time? Are you making progress on debt? Are you saving for something meaningful? This is going to foster satisfaction, reduce that scarcity mindset. Positive psychology research shows that gratitude improves financial decision making and reduces stress related spending. So, again, reflection like this is not a money report card. It's a map of your patterns, your lessons, and little adjustments that you've made along the way. Being aware of emotional triggers, your value based spending, habit patterns, setting those savings micro goals, debt management, and gratitude is going to create insight. You're going to feel calmer and it's going to prepare you for intentional action in 2026. Micro habits, reflection, and humor if you bought a gazillion dollars of candles. Part 4, relationships and social connections, reflecting on your people in 2025. Let's talk about the friends, the family, the partners, the coworkers, and casual acquaintances who made 2025 either a delight or a chaotic sitcom. Reflection here is tricky because humans are messy as hell, relationships are complicated, and emotions can make you feel like a protagonist in a telenovela. And we know that's filled with drama, but here's the truth. Reflecting on your connections is not about judging yourself or others. It's about seeing those patterns, learning, and deciding what you want more of in these relationships in 2026. Let's start with friendships because social support is one of the most powerful predictors of emotional well-being. Science is clear. Strong, positive connections improve happiness, they reduce stress, and even support longevity. Make a list of the people who energized you in 2025 versus those who drained you, not to create guilt or drama or like two teams competing against each other, just patterns. Who consistently lifted you up? Who showed up? Who made life lighter? Who was more energy draining than rewarding? Awareness alone is transformative. Now, a friend of mine spent most of 2025 juggling casual friendships and acquaintances that she felt obligated to maintain. By the end of the year, she noticed a very clear pattern. Certain relationships caused more anxiety than they did joy. And reflecting on that allowed her to prioritize time with people who truly mattered and set very gentle boundaries with the others. She didn't cut anyone off cruelly. She just reallocated her emotional energy. And science backs this up. Intentional social prioritization reduces burnouts and strengthens those meaningful bonds. I too have done the same. Now, let's talk about family dynamics. Again, reflection here is tricky because family is often non-negotiable, so they say. I disagree, but patterns still exist. Did certain interactions consistently trigger stress, guilt, or resentment? Were there moments of connection and joy or support? And again, journaling these things or just reflecting on these interactions, even briefly, can help you notice those patterns so that you can set those emotional boundaries with your family. If you're someone that noticed that like Thanksgiving was a reoccurring stress trigger due to these passive aggressive comments from family, reflection is going to help you point that out and set limits on conversation topics or scheduling like mental breaks while you're there at Thanksgiving and preparing a few maybe humorous comebacks. Anticipation plus boundaries is going to equal fewer surprises. Research in family psychology supports reflection and planning for stressful interactions as a way to improve emotional outcomes. Let's talk romantic relationships, the fun, messy, endlessly dramatic part of life. 2025 may have included flings, long term relationships, ghosting disasters, or a combination of all three, or a bunch of fuckboys who don't deserve your time. You know who you are. Reflection is key here because romantic patterns often repeat until you notice them. Ask yourself, what kind of partner energizes me? And what triggers unhealthy patterns in me? Did I communicate my needs clearly, or did I bury them in hope and anxiety? I had a friend who noticed that he repeatedly entered relationships with emotionally unavailable partners. He prioritized chemistry over communication, and in 2026, he set a micro goal. Ask one clarifying question early in dating conversations. This is so fucking important. Notice those red flags without judgment and take time to check on your own emotional responses. If someone is ready for what you're ready for, they're not going to be intimidated by those maybe deeper questions. And attachment theory research shows that noticing patterns improves relational satisfaction and reduces repeating negative cycles. We literally repeat the same dating cycle over and over and over again until we wake up and we start asking those questions and we start communicating clearly and we do something different. So just fucking date differently in 2026 because I sure as hell am. Another critical aspect is emotional support. Did 2025 show you who consistently showed up for you emotionally? Did you even show up for yourself? Emotional support isn't just about having someone to vent to, it's about reciprocal, nurturing relationships that help you regulate your emotions and navigate stress. Reflect on moments when you felt truly seen and heard or cared for. These are your relational touchstones, and they're going to guide your choices in 2026. Maybe for 1 week, track your interactions and note who leaves you feeling energized versus depleted. And again, science supports this. People who actively manage social energy report higher life satisfaction and lower stress levels. You might discover people you took for granted or did not prioritize, and that is your chance to correct course. And let's not forget communication patterns, because reflection isn't just about who you interact with, but how you interact. Were there repeated misunderstandings or arguments or unresolved conflicts? Did you avoid hard conversations or confrontations just simply out of fear? Reflection allows you to notice where communication styles clashed and prepare you for better strategies moving forward. I realized in 2025, I could have realized much sooner, that I often let passive aggressive energy build instead of addressing things immediately. And reflecting on that helped me plan a little bit. Clarify intentions quickly, use I feel statements, I feel hurt, I feel misunderstood, and then also practice active listening. Evidence from communication psychology shows that clear, direct, and compassionate communication reduces relational tension and increases satisfaction. Now I've gone to the other side of the spectrum where I just word vomit my communication out like it's nobody's business. 2025 may have also included relationships that were consistently draining, that were manipulative or disrespectful. And ask yourself, what did I learn? What boundaries would I set next time? How can I protect my emotional energy while remaining compassionate? Science shows that setting boundaries increases emotional well-being and reduces your stress, your guilt, and your anxiety. We have no time for toxic bullshit. In 2026, do not take bullshit from anybody, okay? Don't get me heated. Now let's also dive into gratitude in relationships. This is also about noticing what nourished you. Positive psychology research shows that expressing gratitude in relationships increases relational satisfaction. It's going to strengthen your bonds and even improves mental health. Here's a little exercise. Write a short note to 3 people who positively impacted your life in 2025. Maybe it's a text. Maybe it's not even a physical note, but thank them. Acknowledge specific moments and notice how it makes you feel. Reflecting on these moments cements positive social patterns in your brain, making you more attuned to supportive connections. Again, you can text it, email it, DM it on Instagram. Gratitude does not require a fancy card. A simple thank you is often good enough. You could also try 1 week of journaling about the emotional energy of your interactions. That's how you're going to note your patterns, your triggers, your moments of joy. And as always, science supports this. Journaling about social patterns is going to improve your self-awareness, something we all need more of. It's going to reduce your anxiety, something we all need less of. And finally, let's talk about forward looking relational intentions. Reflection is about noticing your patterns, but it's also about setting intentions for more of what you want in 2026 in your relationships. More quality time with supportive friends, maybe, clearer communication in those romantic relationships, healthier boundaries with draining family members, and expressing gratitude regularly. Those are just some of the things you might want more of or less of. That's all going to offer better relationships without pressure. A while ago, I had a friend that decided to implement one little micro action for each of those relational categories, like scheduling one friend hangout per week, or send one thoughtful message to a family member, or plan one honest conversation with her partner about needs and expectations. And she didn't overhaul her social life, but she tweaked little things strategically. And the result, she was happier, less stressed, and felt more connected. So this is really just about pattern recognition, boundary setting, gratitude, which is very important, and those small little adjustments. Notice the ones that energize you, the ones that make you feel like you want to run away and crawl into a hole. Notice those communication patterns, emotional support, and those moments of joy. Set your boundaries, communicate clearly, and cultivate gratitude. Part 5, career, growth, and learning. Reflecting on your work and ambitions in 2025. Let's talk about your work, your dreams, your side hustles, your creative projects, things that we all have and sometimes put on the back burner. Basically, what you do with the rest of your life. Because let's face it, 2025 probably gave you a roller coaster of those wins, those flops, and why did I think this would work moments. I've created so many fucking businesses in my life, and I'm like, what was that? And other times I'm like, oh, I could have been a billionaire by now. Reflection here isn't about those missed promotions or failed projects or messy side hustles. It's about noticing patterns and celebrating growth and spotting opportunities for smarter, more intentional career moves in 2026. Let's start with career wins and surprises. So even if 2025 felt chaotic, chances are you accomplished things you didn't fully appreciate in the moment. Who hasn't? Me. Reflection is going to help you catch those wins and understand why they happened. Research in organizational psychology shows that recognizing achievements improves self-efficiency, motivation, and job satisfaction. I've had many friends and family members who were just kind of like meh career-wise. They were like, whatever, it is what it is. Don't love it, don't hate it. But when we review the year, you're going to realize that you had successfully launched 2 projects, you learned technical skills and maintained a client base despite all the chaos. Recognize those small but meaningful wins. That's going to shift that mindset from frustration to confidence. Write down 3 unexpected wins from 2025, no matter how small. Did you manage to finally finish a project? Did you network in a meaningful way? Did you learn a skill you dreaded? Celebrate it. Science shows that noting small wins boosts your dopamine, which reinforces motivation for future action. I'm going to do it right now. Started this podcast that I've thought about for a million years. I went to my first networking event that I was sweating through my shirt and my jacket. I was so nervous, but I forced myself to do it. What could my third career goal be? Oh, well, I increased my personal training rates, and I increased how many personal training clients I have. So there's my 3 wins. And those should be celebrated. And on the flip side of those wins, I don't like this word again, but let's talk about the failures and the lessons, because reflection is not complete without them. But this is like the hot air twist, right? You're not a failure. You're a researcher, and you're collecting data on what works and what doesn't. Career development research shows that analyzing setbacks with curiosity improves problem solving, resilience, and adaptive strategies. I have spent weeks obsessing over a side project that never launched. And initially, I felt like a complete idiot, but reflection revealed patterns. I overcommitted, I underestimated timelines, and I ignored early feedback. And with that data, I could adjust my approach for future projects. It's like if you're pitching an idea to a client, instead of beating yourself up if it fails, you're going to document those lessons, like what worked, what didn't, and what would you try differently next time. That really goes for all of life. A failure is not a failure. You're just doing research so that you can find the data to help you improve things later. Let's move on to skill development and learning, because 2025 probably taught you a lot of skills, whether intentionally or just simply by survival. Cognitive psychology research shows that deliberate practice combined with reflection on mistakes and successes accelerates learning. And here's a little exercise to help with that. Make a skill map. List 3 skills you improved, 3 you attempted but struggled with, and 3 new skills you'd like to develop in 2026. I realized I had improved my ability to negotiate deadlines under pressure, but hadn't developed public speaking confidence and still haven't. That insight guided micro goals for the new year, like small speaking engagements and intentional practice sessions. And remember, these micro adjustments, although small, they're going to compound over time and make for bigger outcomes. Next, let's talk time management and productivity patterns, because 2025 was like a never-ending loop of tasks and deadlines and distractions. Organizational psychology shows that understanding when and how you do your best work dramatically improves efficiency and satisfaction. Like, I had a friend who noted that they were most productive between 9 and 11 a.m., but they habitually scheduled meetings during that block. And then reflecting on that allowed them to protect their peak focus hours and shift meetings to those lower energy periods and work on those bigger, more important projects during those hours when they felt most energized. Projects were completed faster, stress reduced, energy preserved. It's like simple. It's so simple and life-changing. Another good tool is goal auditing. Look back on 2025 goals, whether they were personal or professional, which were achieved, which were abandoned. Reflection isn't about guilt, people. If you abandoned them and didn't achieve them, no biggie. There's still time. We're still here. If you're listening to me, you still got time to do it. But did you overcommit? Did you set unrealistic timelines? Did you ignore small wins? By noticing these tendencies, you can get smarter, faster, and set goals that are achievable. Like, here's one. I set a goal to write a book and finish it, the first draft, by the 31st of December, 2025. I did not finish it. I was writing when I was inspired, only when I was inspired. I did not set time aside to write, which obviously resulted in inconsistent progress. It was short. There were little sprints where I was like really in it, but that's going to let me know that I need to adjust my workflow instead of giving up entirely. So moving into 2026, I might have to say every Sunday, I'm going to go to the cafe for 2 hours and work on this book instead of just like, when I feel like it, I feel like it. Let's also consider networking and mentorship. 2 things that stress me out equally, probably. Did 2025 reveal who you leaned on for guidance, who inspired you, who could have supported you but didn't? Like, reflecting on that is going to help identify those relational resources that fuel growth. Access to mentors and supportive professional networks predicts job satisfaction and career advancement. Now, another little thing here is like massive New Year's resolutions rarely stick, and especially with career. Pick those small goals that are informed from your 2025 patterns, like just improving one skill or finishing one project or dedicating 30 minutes a day to some type of learning. Those are small goals that you can hang on to. And because I love a reframe, let's talk failure reframing, because let's be real, every career has setbacks, and reflection is about reframing that failure. Cognitive behavioral research shows that reframing challenges reduces stress. It's going to increase your problem-solving ability and improve resilience. For example, I failed a big pitch in 2025. Reflecting on that revealed actionable insights: lack of prep in a very specific area. I was misaligned with the client's expectations, and it was poor timing. I was already stressed out with a million other projects. And instead of shame, I reframed it. This is research. Next time, I will execute better, or I will find a client that is on the same page as me. Like, reframing is going to transform that embarrassment into growth. And finally, this is about deciding what you want more of in 2026. Do you want more focus? Do you want more learning, more creative freedom, better boundaries, stronger mentorships, and smarter networking? What do you want more of in your career? The takeaway from this is to celebrate your wins, reframe your failures, notice energy patterns, and plan intentional, small little baby adjustments for 2026 based on your career goals. Part 6, mindset, gratitude, and closing rituals. Reflecting and wrapping up 2025. Oh, if you made it this far, congratulations. You just spent the last 700. See, I don't even know how long we've been here. You just spent the last 5 hours reflecting on your brain, your body, your money, your relationships, and your career. You're basically a certified 2025 analyst at this point. But before we close this chapter, this episode, we need to tackle the grand finale, okay? Your mindset, gratitude, and the rituals that help you actually seal the reflection and enter 2026 with intention, clarity, and let's be honest, a little bit of cunt. Pardon my French. Let's quickly start with mindset because everything we've talked about so far only works if your brain is in a cooperative state. It's about curiosity and learning. Research in positive psychology shows that adopting a growth mindset, like believing that your abilities and outcomes can improve with effort and reflection, significantly increases your motivation. Take a moment to write down one negative thought or belief about 2025. Something like, I didn't accomplish enough, or I kept making the same mistakes. Like now, reframe it. I learned important lessons that will guide smarter choices in 2026, or my experiences built awareness and resilience. This cognitive reframe is supported by decades of research in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it shifts your brain from rumination to action-oriented reflection. If you can't think of something or how you can flip it, go to ChatGPT because that baby will always come through. There's times when I've spent a gazillion years journaling about my failures, and initially I felt awful. But once you reframe that experience as data for growth, I noticed that feeling anxious about that stuff dissipated. And my mindset is literally the foundation for reflection now. Without it, the other insights risk becoming shame instead of empowerment. And now let's talk about gratitude because no reflection is complete without honoring what actually worked. Practicing gratitude increases happiness, it improves relationships, and it even boosts physical health. Reflecting on wins, supportive people, enjoyable moments, and lessons learned isn't just warm and fuzzy. It is warm and fuzzy, but it's not just warm and fuzzy. It literally rewires your brain to notice abundance instead of lack. Maybe you create a 2025 gratitude list. Divide it into 3 categories: people, experiences, and lessons. Don't overthink it. Just jot down the first thing that comes to mind. Nobody's going to see it. Write down whatever the fuck pops into your head. I made a list that includes a mix of the obvious, like friends and family members, and surprising ones like learning to cook a decent meal or finally finishing a tough project, surviving a work meltdown without throwing my laptop. I threw my phone once, but not my laptop yet. The mix of small and big wins reminds you that abundance is everywhere, even in the chaos. And what about rituals for closing out the year? Rituals make it stick. Anthropologists and psychologists agree. Rituals create psychological closure. They reduce anxiety about the unknown and signal readiness for new beginnings. They can be as simple or as elaborate as you want, like lighting a candle or writing a letter to yourself, reviewing your goals, or even like a mini dance party in your living room. I do that last one all the time. Maybe it's something like playing your favorite song while you are journaling your wins and your lessons, and then writing down things you want to release and then setting that on fire. Just don't burn your house down. Any type of ritual that you feel that you can stick with that feels good. Science loves symbolic acts like this. They reduce stress and they reinforce intention setting. Let's add reflection prompts for mindset alignment. Like beyond what went well and what went poorly, why don't you consider these? Which moments felt aligned with my values? Where did I compromise unnecessarily? When did I act out of fear instead of curiosity? These questions encourage metacognition, thinking about your thinking, which improves decision-making, emotional intelligence, and life satisfaction. And another really important one here is letting go. Let go of that emotional baggage, the shame, the resentment, or unrealistic expectations from 2025. You should acknowledge that. Process it and symbolically let it go. CBT and expressive writing research shows that naming emotions and then symbolically releasing them reduces your stress, it's going to improve your sleep, and increase readiness for new experiences. I recently wrote down things that I wanted to release. Things like about guilt, about missed opportunities, anxiety over failed plans, and self-critical thoughts. I literally tore it up, put it in a bowl, set it on fire, and was like, bye-bye, float out into the sky, bitch. I don't need you anymore. That's a ritual that I can stick with, and it felt really damn good. And finally, as you know, I love humor and lightness. Hot air style reflection is not grim or serious. Laugh at the chaos. The world is crazy. Celebrate the ridiculousness. Celebrate the wins and the absurd. failures. You have permission to just be human. Studies show that humor reduces stress, improves resilience, and increases creativity. Reflection plus laughter is a powerful combination. I spent this last week of 2025 reviewing my year, laughing at some of the ridiculous things I've done and experienced, practicing gratitude, writing intentions. The ritual wasn't about perfection. It was about awareness, about closure, and excitement for the next chapter. And science supports that method. Hot air supports that method. And hot air also supports attitude and sassy, grounded, practical, honest practices. So the takeaway here about mindset, gratitude, closing rituals, they transform reflection into preparation. That growth mindset, gratitude journaling, symbolic release, micro goals, and intentional rituals equals forward momentum. Add your humor, add your self-compassion, and you're set to start 2026 grounded, energized, and slightly amused by your own chaos, highly likely. And just like that, we've wrapped up what feels like 5 weeks of me talking about your brain, your body, your money, relationships, career, mindset, gratitude, all of the chaos in between. If your head is spinning a little, don't worry. You can re-listen to this to just like recap. Also, if your head is spinning, that is normal. Reflection is messy. It's emotional and sometimes hilarious. And if you actually feel lighter, calmer, or more energized, well, congratulations. I probably will too once I go lay down a little bit. But that is the magic of intentional reflection. And remember, 2025 was not a report card. It wasn't a measure of your worth. It was a series of experiences, lessons, and opportunities for growth. Some wins, some fails, some absurd, some empowering, but all valuable. Use what you learned, let go of what you don't need, and carry forward the patterns, habits, and moments that actually serve you. And before I go, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok at _hotairpod for more behind the scenes fun and chaos. Swing by my website to submit your listener stories, share your topic suggestions, or shop my merch, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com. And I will be back on January 2nd for the first episode of 2026, which kind of is a follow-up to this episode. This was looking back. The next episode is looking forward. All about new year, new me, but in hot air fashion. Think goal setting, mindset hacks, practical tools, a lot of honest, grounded advice for starting the new year strong, without shame, without pressure, and definitely without any boring motivational fluff. So go ahead, pour yourself a celebratory drink now, maybe do a little dance. And remember, reflection is about learning, growing, laughing, and stepping forward with clarity. So here's to leaving 2025 behind, keeping the lessons, ditching the baggage, and entering 2026 a little wiser, a little lighter, and way sassier, because that's way more fun. So until next time, stay grounded, stay cunty. How many times have I said that this episode? And I will see you next Tuesday.